If you are reaching for healthy, low-fat yogurt to heal your gut, you could be doing the opposite. That creamy texture might come from Carrageenan, the same additive scientists use to trigger gut inflammation in lab rats. Animal studies show it can erode your gut lining by nearly 60% and wipe out key bacteria. So why is this still on breakfast shelves? The paradox starts here. Supermarket shelves overflow with promises: low-fat, probiotic, digestive health. These words stretch across yogurt containers in bold, friendly fonts, each one hinting at a solution for bloating, discomfort, or a sluggish gut. But behind the health halo packaging, the recipe has quietly changed. When manufacturers pull out the fat to cut calories, they lose the creamy texture that makes yogurt feel rich and satisfying. To fill that gap, they turn to something else: additives called hydrocolloids, most often Carrageenan, but also gums like xanthan, gar, and locust bean. These thickeners slip into the ingredient list under names like stabilizer or thickener, right alongside live cultures and milk. Their job is to mimic the mouthfeel of real dairy fat, so the yogurt still feels indulgent even as the fat content drops to zero. It is a clever swap. Consumers get the texture they expect, and brands keep their light or gut-friendly claims. But the trade-off is not printed on the front of the package. Carrageenan, in particular, is prized for its ability to bind water and proteins, making even the thinnest skim milk gel into a spoon-coating treat. In some low-fat yogurts, concentrations of kappa Carrageenan hover between 0.01 and 0.08%, enough to transform watery blends into something that holds its shape and resists separation for months in the fridge. The paradox deepens with the rise of probiotic marketing. Brands advertise billions of live cultures and promise digestive balance, yet the same cup often contains the very additive scientists use to trigger inflammation in laboratory animals. Ingredient lists for digestive health yogurts frequently include Carrageenan or gums, but few shoppers connect those technical names to the gut discomfort they are trying to fix. Instead, the cycle repeats. Consumers, convinced by health claims, reach for another low-fat probiotic yogurt, hoping for relief. Each time, the Trojan Horse slips past their defenses, hidden in plain sight. The real question is not just what is on the label, but what these additives do once they are inside the body. The answer starts with a closer look at what happens when Carrageenan meets the gut lining, a story rarely told in the glow of supermarket lights. Carrageenan's journey does not end at the ingredient list. Once it enters the digestive tract, the gut's defenses are put to the test. Scientists have long relied on Carrageenan to model inflammation in laboratory animals. In rodent studies, researchers add small amounts, sometimes as little as 0.1% of the diet, and within days the animals develop signs of colitis. The gut's protective mucus layer, which serves as a barrier against bacteria and toxins, rapidly thins. In one published experiment, the average loss of this mucus shield reached 59.5%. That single change leaves the gut lining exposed and vulnerable, but the damage goes deeper. The gut is home to trillions of bacteria, many of them essential for keeping inflammation in check. Among the most important is Akkermansia muciniphylla, a species that thrives in the mucus layer and helps maintain its thickness. After just 3 months of Carrageenan exposure, rodent models show a 70% drop in Akkermansia population. At the same time, pro-inflammatory bacteria like Bacteroidetes surge, while beneficial, short-chain fatty acid producers decline by over 60%. The result is a gut environment primed for immune activation, not healing. The mechanism is clear in the lab. Carrageenan triggers the TLR4 receptor on immune cells, a pathway normally reserved for fighting off dangerous pathogens like Salmonella. This sets off a cascade of inflammatory signals, drawing in macrophages and ramping up cytokine production. The gut lining becomes more permeable, what some researchers call leaky gut, allowing toxins and bacteria to slip into the bloodstream. In rodent models, these changes are so reliable that Carrageenan is now a standard tool for studying inflammatory bowel disease. Human evidence is only just beginning to catch up. In late 2024, a pilot study at the German Diabetes Center recruited 20 healthy young men and asked them to add moderate amounts of Carrageenan to their diets for 2 weeks. Even in this short window, participants, especially those with higher body mass, showed measurable increases in gut inflammation. Blood tests revealed subtle but significant signs that the intestinal barrier was under stress. The study's lead author, Dr. Robert Wagner, described the findings as a warning. The same additive used to trigger disease in lab rats was now showing early red flags in people. The numbers are hard to ignore. Nearly 60% of the gut's protective mucus was lost. 70% of a key anti-inflammatory microbe was wiped out. And in humans, the first signals of immune activation are already visible in the blood. The very ingredient that promises a creamy, healthy breakfast is in the lab a known trigger for the kind of gut damage most people are trying to avoid. Dr. Elena Morris sits with patients every week who arrive clutching yogurt containers, hopeful that probiotics will bring relief. But she's seen a different pattern, people complaining of new bloating or stubborn gut symptoms after switching to low-fat, probiotic-labeled brands. Her advice is blunt: cut out processed yogurts with Carrageenan and gums. In her experience, many patients notice improvement within weeks. The science behind her guidance is straightforward. When the gut's protective mucus layer erodes, as animal studies show happens with Carrageenan exposure, the places where beneficial bacteria latch on begin to disappear. Probiotics need that mucosal surface to survive and thrive. Without it, even billions of live cultures may simply pass through, unable to colonize or restore balance. Inside the food industry, these concerns are hardly news. Mark Jensen, a former dairy research and development scientist, recalls the cost calculations and texture trials that drove the shift to thickeners. He explains that when they removed fat for the health claims, the product lost its creaminess. Carrageenan was the cheapest way to get it back. He says they knew about the inflammation research, but it was animal data, and the focus was always on shelf life and mouthfeel. For manufacturers, the trade-off was clear: a few cents saved per cup, a smoother texture, and a product that could last months in the fridge. For consumers like Maya Patel, the story is personal. She spent years chasing digestive health, cycling through different yogurts, always trusting the promises on the label. It wasn't until her doctor suggested avoiding Carrageenan that her symptoms eased. Maya says she thought she was doing everything right. No one told her the thickener could be the problem. Carrageenan sits on the FDA list of generally recognized as safe, a status that has not budged since the 1970s. On paper, this designation means food companies can add it to yogurt, ice cream, and plant-based milks without pre-market approval or rigorous new safety testing. The science, however, has moved far beyond what regulators considered decades ago. In the past 10 years, researchers have filed multiple citizen petitions urging the FDA to revisit Carrageenan's safety record. Dr. Joanne Tobacman, a leading voice in this debate, submitted detailed evidence linking Carrageenan to gut inflammation and requested its removal from the generally recognized as safe list. Each petition has been denied or left pending, often with regulators citing a lack of conclusive human evidence or relying on older toxicology data. For advocates, this response is deeply frustrating. They point to new studies like the 2024 clinical trial showing signs of gut barrier stress in healthy men as proof that the old rules no longer protect consumers. Yet the regulatory machinery moves slowly. While Europe's Food Safety Authority reviewed Carrageenan, in 2018 and set an acceptable daily intake. It too maintained approval, even as researchers there continue to investigate possible risks. Meanwhile, labeling practices offer little help. Most yogurts list Carrageenan as just another stabilizer or thickener, buried among unfamiliar terms. There is no requirement to warn about potential inflammatory effects, and no mention of ongoing scientific debate. For consumers searching for answers, the gap between evolving science and regulatory inertia leaves the burden of caution squarely on their shoulders. Today, most low-fat yogurts still contain Carrageenan despite ongoing debate and FDA approval. As demand for gut health grows, so does the need for real transparency in our food. Sometimes the label healthy hides a risk we can't see until it's already inside us. What's really in your breakfast?